Thanks, and I'm from the Office of Education and Outreach, and you are now sitting in one of our newest exhibitions, the What Does It Mean to Be Human? And more than simply having exhibits at the Smithsonian, for those of you who are not familiar with the museum per se, we are first and foremost a research institution. And that research is based on collections of specimens and cultural objects numbering about 126 million in total. And I see a number of Smithsonian staff here who should actually be going out and making sure that we have 126 million, not 126.1 million or something like that. So, I don't know. Anyway, thank you very much for coming. The research staff and the education office are collaborating to create experiences here where we can, that are newsworthy, that are related to what's in the news, to give a little context for what's happening, and also to give you a little more understanding and meaning to what's going on. So in that endeavor, this is one of our many sort of rapid response presentations or programs. And we're very fortunate to have with us today a Curator of Birds, the Curator of Birds from our Vertebrate Zoology Department, Dr. Graves. Gary got his PhD from Florida State University in Biological Sciences. And Gary's going to give a bit of an overview of the bird die-off in Arkansas, and then we'll open it up for a Q&A from the audience. So please welcome Gary.
First of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
They tell me I can't step inside this magic ring here or the feedback will overwhelm us. Anyway, how many of you have heard, were aware that there was a big bird disaster in Arkansas? It was all over the news. I saw it on BBC Evening News and NBC, CBS. It was on for several days. It was all over AOL and most of the wire services. But anyway, I want to talk a little bit about what we know about that. It's been 22 days since that 21 days since that happened, and what we do know and what it is, what it isn't. Anyway, so I will start and probably talk about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll have plenty of time for all sorts of questions. So anything that you want to ask, this is your opportunity to ask. Okay. The story starts on New Year's Eve in a little town called Beebe, Arkansas. And this is a town that's about 40 miles northeast of Little Rock. And it's a little bedroom community surrounded by cropland. It's not a very large town. It's a nice place to live. And in the evening, well after dark, residents started noticing strange happenings in the neighborhood. Birds were falling. People heard things hitting the roofs, slamming into their cars, into the driveway. And when the light of morning came, they found that the entire neighborhood of this part of town was littered with dead birds. And so that naturally disturbs people, especially when they're in your yard. You don't know what killed them, why they're there, if this could mean something, be a portent of some kind of disastrous thing in the neighborhood, a poisoning event, some other kind of disaster. Anyway, so first of all, I want to show you what was involved. The main species involved was something called red-winged blackbird. Red-winged blackbirds are very common blackbirds in the eastern United States and also in central and western United States. It's one of the most abundant birds in North America. This is the male, has a nice red shoulder. This is a female, nice and straight. This is a really abundant bird. At the start of every breeding season in the spring, there are about 150 million of these in the United States. And by the fall, after the nesting season, the North American population balloons up to about 300 million birds. So it's one of the most abundant birds in the United States. Now, red-winged blackbirds in the summer have dispersed territories. So they're in marshes, in wet crop land, hay fields, things like this. And they defend individual territories. But in the fall, they flock. They migrate to southern, warmer climates. There are not too many of them in the winter around Washington, for instance, but in the south, all the way across the south, there are large blackbird flocks. And these blackbird flocks, they fly out to agricultural lands in the daytime. They feed in rice and soybean fields, cornfields. And then in the evening, they fly back to traditional roosts. Some of these roosts contain large numbers of blackbirds. And when I mean large numbers, I mean absolutely millions of blackbirds. The largest such roost that was recorded was back in the 1960s in Arkansas, as one would have it. And they estimated in this one area that there were as many as 40 million blackbirds. 40 million. So it takes hours for the birds in the evening to actually pour into the area and roost. And the beebe roost, I don't know what the number of roosting birds were. That was never made known. I heard that it was actually in a row of cedars. And sometimes in an area with a footprint no bigger than this museum, you could have 2 or 3 million blackbirds pack into an area like that. Now, other blackbirds also join these red-winged roosting flocks. One of the most common is common grackle, which is also around Washington. It's the largest of the blackbirds that normally roost with red-winged flocks. Then you have European starling, which isn't actually, it's black, but it's not really related to the rest of these species. These are all in the family Pteridae. This is in the family Sternidae, and this is actually was introduced into the United States from Europe back in about 1890. Anyway, starlings roost with red-winged flocks, so do brown-headed cowbirds, which are also found in the Washington area. And then rarer occupants of these flocks are the rusty blackbird, which many conservationists fear is declining in the eastern United States, so it sometimes roosts with those. And then mainly in the Midwest and West, the brewer's blackbird, which looks like a small version of the common grackle, also roosts with these. So what we know is that sometime on New Year's Eve, late at night, before midnight anyway, birds start falling out of the sky, landing in the streets of Beebe. The next morning, they started, they called the hazmat team. The local Game and Fish Commission was called, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife was called. Figured there was some kind of a major event that was going on, of unknown cause. And they sent out a team of hazmat people that were wearing these like spacesuit-like things, and with shovels and thick rubber gloves. It was something like out of the X-Files or something, you know, with people like this shoveling up dead birds. Now, if I was there and saw these dead birds, I'd say, oh yeah, something killed them. And I would walk out there with a garbage bag and just pick them up with my hands and put them in the bag. But they treated these things like they were, you know, some kind of hazardous substance. The carcasses were, a sample of them anyway, were shipped to state wildlife labs in Arkansas and to a federal lab that's in Madison, Wisconsin. And then forensic pathologists looked at the carcasses to try to determine whether the birds had been poisoned or not, or what was the cause of death. Now, as of yet, I have not heard of any toxicological evidence that there was any poison involved. All reports seem to indicate that all of these birds died of blunt force trauma. It means that they ran into something. They were smashed, broken bones, smashed bodies.